And there we go.
Get it working now? Okay. We'll run with it.
I'm just not going to touch anything. You guys go ahead.
That's fine. Hey, Griff, good to see you.
Good to see you too, Grant.
Yeah, thanks for coming by. How's this week of school been going for you?
You know, it's been tough, but it's been good. I'm glad we're through. But I learned some great stuff about counseling. So.
Oh, yeah. Well, hey, before we head home, I know there was something you'd wanted to talk about. What is it that brings you in today? What can I help you with?
Yeah. So a few weeks ago, I had a slight altercation with my manager at Whole Foods. And it got pretty nasty pretty fast.
Wow.
So yeah, I find it affecting my relationship with her and my view of work and stuff. So just want to come here and talk about it.
Wow. Yeah, that definitely sounds like something that's worth talking about.
Yeah.
Why don't you share a little more with me? Maybe we can just start with what happened. That'd be a good place to start.
Yeah, I'll start at the very beginning. So I came into work like I normally do, just at Whole Foods, straightening up shelves and stuff, and then I was right by my coworkers, and my manager said something briefly to me, and so I went over to talk to her, and all of a sudden it becomes like a criticism of my job performance.
Oh, wow.
And right there in the middle of the store and stuff. And so like I spoke up to defend myself, and she sort of laughed in my face. She laughed in my face. And you know, she's ethnically German. Well, not ethnically, she's from Germany. So I've chalked it up to a bit of a culture difference, but it was still pretty brutal, pretty hurtful, painful, you know. So.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I can tell even as you're talking that there's definitely some emotion that's coming back as you sort of relive the experience.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal.
Wow. So just to make sure I understand the situation, your manager at work unexpectedly confronted you in public, and then when you attempted to respond to her, I heard you say she laughed in your face.
Yeah, it laughed in my face. Just felt very devalued at that point in time.
Wow. Well, yeah, maybe we could stay here for a minute. I also heard you say you were using language like it was painful, it was hurtful. I wonder if you could give me some more specific, as you go back to that moment in time, what were some of the specific emotions that you were experiencing as part of that pain and as part of that hurt?
Well, part of it was shock. You know, it felt like she was pulling a blitzkrieg on my self-identity. But, you know, it was just like frustrating. I guess like just, it felt like she was just completely like ripping my soul apart, my identity apart.
Wow.
I value hard work, and I generally try to work hard when I'm at work. And it just felt like she was devaluing who I was as a person, especially when she laughed at me. And I was just like, all right, well, I see that dollars and cents matters to you more than your employees.
So you're doing a really good job, Griff, describing the situation for me. I feel like I'm right there with you. I'm wondering a little bit, as you're describing it, if you can help me understand your mind state as it was happening a little more. You said that you felt devalued as a person.
Yeah.
As you think about that's what happened. You were devalued as a person. What sort of response did that produce inside of you? What sort of emotion did that bring out?
Oh, anger.
Okay.
Yeah, anger. Sort of told her off a bit. I was so hot, don't really remember the words I said. But anger, resentment, frustration, you know, and at some point I realized that I'm not going to win an argument with her, so I shut up and just let things be, but took my anger out on my work. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I can really imagine that must have been something that as you were experiencing that anger, you felt like it had to go somewhere. I can really imagine how hard that must have been to experience that anger in the moment. Was there something that you that you did in the immediate follow-up to that conversation?
Oh, I mean, I just focused on work. So we were like pulling items to the front of shelves. So I was trying to go as fast as possible, just really show her, almost like flip her the proverbial bird, you know?
Wow.
But
Yeah.
just like with my work ethic, be like, you say I'm not a hard worker, here you are. So, yeah.
When you had that experience, was that something that you were able to transition out of very quickly, or were there some areas that maybe you carried it home with you?
Oh, I mean, it took a while. Like, I mean, I was just like, I would say that was probably one of the hardest like nights of working there.
Oh yeah.
But took it home, told my wife about it. But I would say more than anything, it just like impacted my desire to go to work, show up. You know, just felt like it wasn't worth it anymore. Felt like my relationship with my superior would never be the same. You know, just knew to really watch my back around her, and really, honestly, like, I've always been on my toes every time I worked with her.
Wow.
So, yeah.
I wonder, are there some ways, as she was confronting you and as she was giving you her speech and really calling you out in public, as you look back on it later, were you able to separate some of what she said from how she said it? Does that make, were there some ways that, you know, as you look back on it, have you been able to reflect further on the content of what was said as opposed to just the way the message was delivered?
Yeah, I mean, part of what she was saying was just BS. Like, I don't know where she was getting it.
Yeah.
But the other part of it was like, you know, I mean, we're like, even if you're a hard worker, you can find ways to improve like your efficiency and stuff. And so I just realized, hey, there were a few areas that maybe that's what she was seeing and I could improve. And, you know, I just really wish she had come to me, you know, in private, or like even like, and had taken the opportunity of the review we just had to actually say those things. And so it was just a lot of frustration with, like, I guess mainly how she handled it too.
Sure. So I'm hearing you say there that even though she handled it poorly, as you processed it and processed the experience over the next few days, next few weeks, and even as we process it now, that you were able to glean some things from it and recognize, hey, even though I disagree with how this was handled, there were some things that were said that were accurate.
Yeah, that's correct.
I just want to encourage you, Griff. That takes a lot of courage to be able to do that.
Thanks.
and to really be able to separate what was said from how it was said, and to be able to recognize that even in a biting criticism where much of what was said wasn't true, there were some things that were true.
Yeah.
It really takes a lot of courage, Griff, to be able to do that. So.
Thanks. Well, even though she might be a Nazi, I mean, there's still a bit of truth in it.
I don't know about that, but it certainly sounds like that she's a difficult person to work for, and that it affected your relationship.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, a few more things that I'd love for you to share a little more about. As you talked about that emotion of anger earlier, and I heard you say that really the predominant thing that happened as she lit into you was you were seeing red and you were becoming angry. Where are some other areas in your life where anger could be a struggle?
When people aren't telling the truth, and they're speaking lie. I also I would say when there's injustice occurring. When I see other people being wronged, most of the time I'm pretty passive if I'm being wronged, but when other people are wronged, I get pretty mad.
Yeah. Well, so this was a case as well where you were wronged, and
that's true.
And anger was really a response versus passivity, which makes a lot of sense. Certainly, probably would have been my response. I'm wondering, are there any ways that you've learned to, when you're in that moment of really intense anger, to deal with it? Do you have any methods that you use to try to cool down, so to speak, to help you? A lot of times, I mean, in this case, it wasn't a very good place for you to be able to express your anger because you were at work and things. So do you have I'm wondering if you have some ways that maybe you've been able to cool down in the past?
I mean, the biggest one is retreat. like just being like, hey, I can't do this right now. Like, just I need a few minutes and retreat. But other than that, none that I can think of off the top of my head.
Well, that's something that as we come to the end of our time today, Griff, that I'd love if you'd be open to it, to pick that back up in some future sessions. And I know that you're not alone with that. I think any of us, when we're confronted in that way, our anger is really our gut reaction. And I'd love to be able to work through some really practical ways that you may be able to help process that anger, so that instead of you responding out of anger, you can respond more from a place of peace. Does that sound like something you might want to explore?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, I look forward to that, Griff. Hey, thanks again for coming in today. I
Thanks,
appreciate
man.
it.
Appreciate it.